I have done, if I'm being honest, every single one of these things: anger, blame shifting, silent treatment, withdrawal, gaslighting, minimizing, deflecting. So someone who might have narcissistic traits might not have a rooted identity in God. They might be very, very uncomfortable with people having feelings around them. And if I go into the role of the victim, I'm guaranteed to be angry, resentful, frustrated, hopeless, lonely, despair. But we all have some tendencies of being a little bit narcissistic, in my opinion. Quick break. 81.9% of you are not subscribed to this channel. So if you are looking for ways to better your marriage, relationship tips, intimacy, and sexual connection, you will find that here. Hit the subscribe button, and we're going to keep diving into narcissism and how they respond. How to know if you're in a relationship with a narcissist, and what would they say when you ask them for more? So if you're asking for more in the relationship, how might a narcissist respond? And I would challenge you to stay to the end, because at the end, I'm going to give some very embarrassing personal experience and my opinion on narcissism. These are going to be facts, and I'm going to give personal stuff that you definitely don't want to miss at the end. So Brendan, my little one, I was telling him how awesome he was and speaking life into him and just building up his identity as a kid. And I said, "Hey, baby, what do you love about mommy?" And he said, "Well, I love that you make me good breakfast." I'm like, "Oh, baby, that is so sweet. That's what I do for you. What do you love about me?" He's like, "Okay." He's like, "I love that you take me fun places." I'm like, "Oh, babe, that's so sweet. Again, that's what I do for you." And I was like, "It's okay." He's 10. But he saw me through the lens of what he got out of it. So everything was about him. And before we even dive into how a narcissist would respond, isn't that how some of all of us are? We're in relationships sometimes and unknowingly for what we get out of it, when we feel good. We're kind when we feel good, right? When our partner shows up for us, we show up for them. And so some of these things I want to neutralize that we might all do that we call narcissism, which would be in the extreme, right? But we all have some tendencies of being a little bit narcissistic, in my opinion. So we're going to go through how might a narcissist respond if you were to come to them and say, "You are not meeting my needs." The first way they might respond might be in deflection. See, I believe there are 5 typical responses that narcissists use in their communication: deflection, minimization, gaslighting, withdrawal, and blame shifting. And we're going to go through each one of them and what might actually be going on for them. So let's talk about deflection. So when you say, "Hey, you're not meeting my needs," they might say, "Well, what about my needs? You never think about what I'm going through." So they immediately turn the conversation around to themselves, avoiding responsibility. And when I think about me, that kind of makes sense. I don't know. The easiest thing would be to deflect. So someone who might have narcissistic traits might not have a rooted identity in God. They might be very, very uncomfortable with people having feelings around them. So when you have feelings, they don't want to feel them. So they're going to deflect it and say, "Well, I have needs also." Right? So what I also hear in this is maybe someone who doesn't know how to voice what they want either. Right? And so when you go with your needs, if someone is starting to deflect them and say, "Well, you never think about my needs, right? Or what I'm going through," how might you respond in that? You could say, "You know what? You're right. Have I been missing some things for you?" Or you get pissed and act like the narcissist and say, "Well, what? These are my needs. I'm talking about this," right? And so are both of you acting in some way and making it about you? Like, "Hey, you're not thinking about what I'm going through." And so the way that we've created space for that in our relationship is by doing something called marking it and parking it. One of our coaches here at Rise Up Kings gave us the idea that we set aside space that if I want to come and bring feelings and talk about a conversation, we give space for my feelings in this conversation. And Skylar might have feelings, but first we're going to deal with my feelings. And then once we're done, we put a bow on it. I've felt seen, heard, and safe. Then we go and deal with his feelings along with the scenario. So I know you're probably watching this to see, is my partner a narcissist? But are there ways that you deflect? And then when they come to you with needs, you say, well, what about me? You never think about what I'm going through. Maybe because you haven't been voicing them. So secondly, a narcissist might minimize it and say, oh, you're so sensitive, or it's not that big of a deal. And they might belittle your feelings. And so you think, why might someone do that? If you bring feelings and they say, you're so sensitive, right? It's not that big of a deal, and they belittle it, you have an option to believe them and say, oh, I'm wrong. I shouldn't have brought that. Or you can say, yeah, I do have feelings, and it might not be that big of a deal to you, but it is to me. And you don't have to abandon yourself, even if they don't understand your feelings or validate your feelings. See, that's where I feel like this goes wrong in a relationship. I'm sure there are times where both of you minimize things, right? And you might be blaming your partner because they minimize things, but you, when you just go along with it and don't stand your ground with the thing that you say you want, you are also being a little hypocritical, because in that instance, you're minimizing your things as well. And so they might belittle your feelings, but are you standing your ground with yours? And so again, if they're belittling your feelings, maybe it's really hard for them to feel like they've made a mistake. You might be married to a perfectionist or someone that gets their identity from people being happy around them. So it's extremely difficult in order for them to have you bring feelings. And so the easiest way for them to not deal with that is to blame you, right? And minimize it and say, oh, it's not that big of a deal. And so is it more narcissism or more of a coping mechanism? Is it more emotional immaturity or narcissism, right? Narcissism gets this bad rap, but again, I can see how both sides in the relationship might be participating in this thing that we're labeling as narcissistic tendencies. The third thing is gaslighting. So when you bring to them, hey, you're not doing enough for me, I need more of you, they might say, I do everything for you. You're impossible to please, right? They might distort reality, making you question your own perception. And just because they say you're impossible to please, you can check in with that and say, am I impossible to please? And some of the women that I know would say, you know what? I do act impossible to please. And no, it's okay that I have needs, right? You don't have to allow the gaslighting to happen. And maybe that's been the norm in the relationship. See, when Skylar used to be vulnerable and kind of share an area where he was weak in, he would always tell me when he admitted his weakness, he would say how I was weak in that area also. And for a while, I went along with it. I was like, okay, like I didn't even know what was happening. And then I was like, wait a second. I was like, hey, you own your thing. I know that it feels better when you bring me into the equation, when you're being vulnerable and admitting something. However, that's not fair to me. Right now, we're talking about you. And so if you have a need and they say, I do everything for you, you're just impossible to please, you don't have to believe that. You don't have to take that in like, no, I can see how this might feel like a lot for you. And that's just not true. I am possible to please. And here are the ways why. So you definitely have to make sure that you are being possible to please. Because some women make it very hard for their men to win. Like nothing their husbands do is good enough. And so this is true in some instances. So I would challenge you to check into that. Do you make things impossible to please? And when it comes to gaslighting or someone saying something like you're impossible to please, you do not have to allow that to be your truth, even if it's their truth. And you don't have to change them. They can think that all that they want, but that does not have to change you. Okay, fourthly, silent treatment or withdrawal. So they might shut down if you bring to them, hey, I need more from you. They might give you silent treatment or withdrawal. So they'll shut down emotionally or physically to punish you from confronting them. And so what might be going on for someone who goes to silent treatment? It might be revenge. And that means that they're hurt when someone's in withdrawal. And so you can respond to the silent treatment and withdrawal with more silent treatment and withdrawal, which is, again, doing what you don't want them to do to you. Or you can notice that there's a hurt person there. Like, I'm sharing a need that they're not doing something for me. And if they're giving me silent treatment, they heard me and it's affecting them. And so how can I be with this person and not withdraw also? See, if you're going to live by the standard to treat people how you want other people to treat you, when someone's giving you silent treatment, do you have to give it to them back? Or when someone's withdrawing and not meeting your needs, can you love them like Jesus and lean in anyways? Or do you operate in this economy in your relationship that if you give to me, we keep score. I'm going to do it if you do it. And if you don't do it, I'm not going to do it. And when I operate in that way, that's often when I go into victim mode, right? I'm not doing it because of my commitment of who I am as a woman or who I want to be as a wife. I'm doing it in response to them. And if I go into the role of the victim, I'm guaranteed to be angry, resentful, frustrated, hopeless, lonely, despair. And so if you're feeling any of those, you might want to get clear on who you want to be in the relationship. How do you want to be as a woman or as a man in the relationship, not in response to them, but because that's your commitment to yourself, because you are a kind person or you are a forgiving person, regardless of what they are. Lastly, a narcissist might respond in anger or blame shifting when you bring, hey, I need more from you. So they might say, if you were more loving or you were more respectful or you were more attractive, maybe I'd want to meet your needs, right? Putting it on you that you're to fault. And so you could ask them in that moment, okay, are you asking me for those things? What do you need from me, right? Because you are asking for more from them, and then they're just meeting this cry for help with another cry for help. They might even, unfortunately, attack your character to deflect their own shortcomings. And so, again, I see this person that if they were to respond, if you were more this or you were more that or you were more that, in blame, trying to put it on you, you don't have to take that blame. You can say, no, I'm happy to show up for you, but right now we're talking about my needs and what I need from you. And that's where people might get stuck. So what I've seen to be true about anyone who exhibits extreme narcissistic tendencies is that they have had some serious things happen in their life. Oftentimes, traumatic things happen. And these 5 things that I talked about are the way that they feel safe and protect themselves. But really what it points to is immaturity in emotions. So emotional immaturity, relational immaturity. I had very dysfunctional ways of being because I wasn't modeled what true love was growing up. I was modeled conditional love, and I had been through some trauma. And so I have done, if I'm being honest, every single one of these things: anger, blame shifting, silent treatment, withdrawal, gaslighting, minimizing, deflecting, all of it. And so my question for you is, have you as well? And do you need to label this person you're in relationship with as a narcissist? Or can you see them as the person that they are? Can you see that they're hurt and they're trying to defend something and they might feel deeply insecure inside, and this is how they feel safe? And it's not effective. I'm not condoning it at all, but can you at least see them as the person so you don't have to respond to the action, but you can respond to the person? Right? You might have to have boundaries put in place, like, we are not going to act like this. And if you act like this, then this is what is going to happen. This is not going to work. And a boundary isn't, hey, can you not talk to me like that? A boundary is, what I'm willing to do is this. And what I'm not willing to do is this. That is what a boundary sounds like. So, unfortunately, I have narcissistic tendencies if we go off of these 5 things. And for me, it led back to self-preservation. All I knew in my relationship was to self-preserve. And so I was revengeful. I was manipulative. I held perfection as the standard for me and to my spouse. And it was very ineffective. And so I have taken all these learnings and these tools that I've learned along the way, and my husband and I have wrapped them into some programs called Rise Up Kings and Rise Up Queens. The link is in the description. So if you want actual help with some of these things and how to turn around your relationship, not turn around your partner, because you can't change other people, but turn around your relationship, definitely go into the link, hit the button, and I'd love to get connected with you.